I got to take my time with this one because it deserves it. Most people talk about entrepreneurship like it's a financial decision. Quit the job, start the thing, replace the income. That framing is incomplete. Entrepreneurship isn't primarily a money decision. It's an emotional load decision. And most people underestimate that part completely. When you work a normal job, the structure carries you. Your schedule's decided, your priorities are handed to you, and your risk is ultimately capped. You can hate the job and still feel oddly safe in it. Call that the comfortable rut. When you build your own thing, all of that flips. There's no ceiling on responsibility anymore. There's no upper limit to how much uncertainty you can hold. You're not just doing tasks now. You're containing risk every single day. And that changes you. Not immediately, not right away, quietly. At first, it feels empowering. You're excited, you're motivated, you finally get the call, the shots, but that honeymoon phase fades faster than people will ever admit. Then a reality sets in. You wake up one day and you realize there's no separation anymore. Your business isn't something you go to, it's something you carry. It's something you wear every day. You get up, make a coffee, you walk to the office, right? Revenue doesn't just affect your bank account anymore. It affects your whole nervous system. A good month feels like oxygen, and a slow month feels like you're suffocating, even when nothing is technically wrong. That's because entrepreneurship collapses the distance between cause and effect. It just shrinks that gap. In a job, feedback is delayed and filtered, right? Comes down the pipe. In business, the feedback is raw, and raw feedback hits harder. There's no one there to sugarcoat it for you. And here's something people don't understand until they're in it. You're not just responsible for the outcomes. You're responsible for the interpretation. When sales dip, you don't just see numbers. You start questioning decisions. You start questioning everything you ever did. Pricing, messaging, timing of your next launch, your own judgment even, lying awake at night. Your brain starts running simulations constantly. What if I, launched earlier? What if I waited too long? What if this is as good as it gets or as far as it goes? What if it's the end of the line? That background noise never really shuts off early on. That's the cost of autonomy. And here's where people start breaking. Humans are wired for shared risk, for tribes, for systems, for buffers. Entrepreneurship removes most of those buffers. You don't have coworkers who truly understand the pressure, people you can complain to on the lunch break. You don't have managers absorbing all the fallout. You don't have a fixed paycheck to emotionally lean on, feel good about, regardless of how bad the week went. So your nervous system stays alert, not panicked, but alert. And long-term, alertness is exhausting. That's why people can be doing well and still feel off, still tense, still irritable, still restless, because safety isn't binary anymore. It's not black and white. You can be financially okay and emotionally exposed or vulnerable. Another thing nobody prepares you for is decision loneliness. You can talk ideas with people, you can get opinions, and you can crowdsource feedback. Communities are great for that. But at the end of the day, the call is still yours. And once the decision is made, you own it, good or bad. And that kind of ownership is rare in real life. Most systems protect people from it. Entrepreneurship doesn't. And that's both the gift and the burden. Another hard truth. The longer you do this, the less external motivation works. Hype fades. Inspiration cycles wear off. You stop getting energy from what could be. You need something way sturdier. This is where a lot of people misdiagnose the problem. They think they need better habits, or more discipline, or some shiny new strategy. What they actually need is emotional capacity. The ability to sit inside that uncertainty without immediately trying to escape it. It's not natural, that's trained. And it's trained through exposure. It's like your immune system. Slowly, sometimes painfully. 1 month where nothing collapses even though it feels like it might. Another month where you adjust instead of quitting. Another decision you survive without the reassurance. That's how resilience is built. Not through confidence, through proof. And here's something else that hits hard. Entrepreneurship strips away identity shortcuts. In a job, your title does a lot of the work for you. Does a lot of the heavy lifting. People understand who you are quickly. Project manager, director, analyst, team lead. When you build something, your identity becomes vague all of a sudden. Founder, creator, builder. Those words don't really mean anything to most people. So conversations start to get awkward. You stop getting automatic respect. You stop fitting into clean boxes. And that messes with your sense of self more than you could ever expect. You start asking quieter questions. Who am I if this fails? Who am I without external validation? Who am I if this takes longer than planned? Do I suck? What was I thinking? Right? That's not weakness. That's identity reconstruction. And reconstruction is disorienting. Why everybody hates change. This is also why entrepreneurship feels heavier the longer you do it. At first, you're running on all kinds of possibilities. Later, you're running on responsibility. Responsibility for yourself. Responsibility for customers. Responsibility for, revenue. Responsibility for anyone who depends on what you've built. Maybe you got, employees. That weight matures you quickly. You become more deliberate, more cautious, less impressed by hype. You stop chasing excitement and start chasing stability. It's not selling out. And a thing that's hard to rationalize for many artists and creators is that that's not selling out. That's learning. Musicians call that, being on the level. But here's a paradox. That same weight that exhausts you is also what gives your work meaning, because nothing's abstract anymore. Your decisions matter, your actions compound, your restraint counts in ways you could never imagine. You're not playing pretend. You're building something real, and real takes time. They take boring days, uneventful weeks, long stretches where nothing obvious happens. That's the part social media erases. You don't see the months of quiet execution. You see the outcome. And your brain compares your middle to someone else's highlight reel, which then makes you doubt perfectly reasonable timelines. It's why you think you should be making 100K in under 6 months when you've never worn all the hats before. This is where people sabotage themselves. They confuse discomfort with danger, and they interpret emotional heaviness as a sign to pivot, quit, or just blow things up. Sometimes the pivot's correct. Most of the time, the discomfort is simply the cost of the depth. Shallow work feels lighter. Deep work feels heavier because depth carries consequence. And here's what long-term entrepreneurs eventually learn. You don't eliminate anxiety, you contextualize it. You stop asking, why do I feel like this? And start asking, can I still act responsibly while feeling like this? It becomes normal. It's like the slow seasons after a Q4. It's like Q1. Build it into your system. That shift will change everything. You stop waiting to feel ready. You stop chasing certainty. You act from clarity instead of comfort. And that's when businesses stabilize. Not when fear disappears, when fear stops running the show. And the wild part is that over time, the loneliness softens. Not because the work gets easier, but because you get more resilient. You get better at doing it all. You trust yourself more. You get better at being solo. You recover faster, and you don't spiral as far as you always used to. You realize that uncertainty doesn't mean failure. It just means you're still in motion. That's why we all grow so much more once we stepped out of our comfort zones. If you're in this phase right now, carrying the weight quietly, questioning yourself while still showing up, you're not doing it wrong. You're doing the hardest part. The part that doesn't look impressive, the part that doesn't get applause, the part that most people never have the balls to attempt. Entrepreneurship isn't about escaping work. It's about choosing your burden. If you're still here, still building, still taking responsibility instead of retreating into comfort, that says more about you than any revenue number ever could. This path costs more than people will ever admit, but it also gives back something super, super rare. Self-trust. Earned slowly, built under pressure, and ultimately, honestly, worth every uncomfortable step. See you in the next one.